Today I'm going to talk to you about Carlos Alcaraz and why he's one of the most complete tennis players the world has ever seen. Check out this amazing point from Carlos Alcaraz at the age of 13. Kick serve wide, following with a short ball backhand approach shot to a drop volley. And this is the second point where Carlos hits a nice serve followed by a drop shot. And as you can see here, his amazing athleticism to get to that wide ball. Carlos Alcaraz just won his first Wimbledon title, beating Novak Djokovic in 4 hours and 42 minutes in a fifth set match. The incredible athleticism, precision and mental toughness helped him throughout the match in order to take the title. I'm going to give you the rundown on why Carlos is such a complete player and also give you guys tips in order to help your own game too. Firstly, let's start off with Carlos Alcaraz's mental toughness. As you can see, the match went on for 4 hours and 42 minutes, which is a very long match, and you can tell that Carlos' mental focus did waver throughout the match, but he was able to bring it back collectively on the big points which mattered most. Carlos showed great mental toughness throughout the match as he was able to sustain not only the brute force of Novak Djokovic, but he was also able to come back and show why he is such a great champion. At only 20 years of age, Carlos Alcaraz not only defeated Djokovic, but Djokovic has not been beaten on the Wimbledon centre court for the past 10 years. How incredible is that? From Carlos losing the first set, being down 5-love in the first set, he was able to come back and win the next 2 sets, which was an absolute thriller. Especially in the third set, he produced some of his best tennis. Being the offensive game style that Carlos is, he's very attacking, looking forward to take charge of the net, as well as having that big serve first ball punch. Carlos most notably doesn't have the biggest serve on tour, but he is able to hit 120 miles an hour on average for his first serve. As you can see with the first serve, he's very accurate, hitting a lot of his targets. He did try to do a lot of body serves as well as serve to Novak's backhand, and he tried to catch him off as well with his second serve going kick on the ad side. This worked wonderfully well and has also worked previously well in the clay court season too, as the ball is kicking up, rising outside of the comfort zone of a lot of the top players, therefore giving himself the chance to run around and dictate with his forehand in the incredible fashion that he does. The stats show that having a higher first serve percentage gives you a much bigger chance at winning your serve, as therefore winning the sets as well. Because of having a higher first serve percentage of over around 60%, you're able to dominate with that big serve and hopefully get a slightly easier ball to dictate from. On the downside, if your first serve percentage is not that high, let's say it's around 40 to 50%, which is quite low, therefore your opponents will look to take advantage of the second serve, applying pressure as well as taking time away from you when hitting bigger return. The second point is the return of serve from Carlos. As you can see that Carlos has a shorter take back on the first serves. This gives him time to able to hit that ball back with a good ejection of speed without losing the control. In comparison to the second serve, Carlos has a little bit more time, usually if it's a slice serve or kick serve. As the ball will go a little bit slower in the air, Carlos is able to dictate using the forehand and backhand. And as you can see for the backhand, he stepped in especially well, targeting that inside in very effectively. One strategy that Novak tried to do against Carlos in the Wimbledon final was attacking the body of Carlos. If Carlos is tucked in, it's much harder for Carlos to get that free rein in swinging with his powerful ground strokes. So Novak managed to do that quite well, but Carlos was able to get his body out the way a lot of the times for those body serves. You may also see some tennis players standing further back, such as Daniel Medvedev and Rafa Nadal. Notably, when they stand further back, they want a little bit more time to see the ball, especially on the faster first serves, whereas the second serve, players tend to stand in closer to the baseline, therefore they're looking to take charge, able to see a little bit more angles of the court and take time away from their opponent. Both Novak and Carlos were able to hit deep returns down the center of the court, therefore pushing them back behind the baseline, giving them an easier chance to attack on the following ball. The great reason why a lot of players return deep down the middle is so that it negates any chance of going for any angles, as well it also neutralizes the ball down the center, which is the biggest target area in the court. Players tend to have the sword on their forehand side and the shield on their backhand side, and this is because they tend to hit faster shots on the forehand side, have a bit more versatility as well with different spins and better reach on the forehand side too. Whereas the backhand is the shield, it's more the defensive side. You want to be able to counter with that and be rock solid when defending. The contrast of having that backhand that's rock solid and having the deadly forehand with pure power and precision enables Carlos to have a lot of free rein when playing a lot of his points. As you can see by the surface area of the court, Carlos tends to stand a little bit further on the ad side, looking to hit his forehand more often in a rally. If he has to hit a backhand, he would tend to go down the middle or cross court, because he's able to look to open up the court, giving himself the chance to use his forehand for the next ball. I loved how Carlos varied his forehand a lot. He was able to hit a lot of angles, high ball with a lot of topspin, giving Novak less pace, as well as the ejection of speed when moving on the wider balls or attacking the shorter balls. This definitely caught Novak off guard a few times with the ejection of speed and angle that Carlos were able to possess in his game. What was very interesting is that Carlos was slicing quite a lot on the backhand side. As he's playing on grass court, the ball will naturally stay a lot lower. Therefore, Novak was more likely to have to bring the ball upwards. Therefore, Carlos is able to dictate from that higher than waist shot on his forehand side. Also, with those higher balls rising up to Carlos, it's much easier for him to dictate and choose where to aim the ball with a bit more angle, in comparison to if the ball was a slice low ball to Carlos, he would have to bring it up a little bit more with more spin and shape. Therefore, he couldn't be as offensive when attacking. Carlos has incredible athleticism. As you can see, he's sprinting all around the court and getting to all kinds of balls you wouldn't think would be possible. One of the best defensive plays I've ever seen from Carlos was in the 5th set when Novak Djokovic had a break point to go up 2-love, and Carlos hustled so hard to get the balls back in and make Novak Djokovic play that extra ball. So he did. Novak Djokovic missed a forehand, which was a drive volley, which he could have made, but that's because of Carlos's resilience of not giving up and fighting for every ball. I also love seeing how Carlos was able to slice the balls on his backhand as well as forehand. As you can see, it's kind of like a squash shot. When the ball goes really far outside of your reach, you're able to cut that ball, getting the ball really low. Therefore, the players on the opponent's side are not able to attack because the ball is so low to the floor. This is a great way to get yourself back into the rally, and so that you'll be in a neutral position back again. The coach Juan has done an amazing job with Carlos in terms of him coming forwards to the net to take charge. This helps to shorten points as well as take time away from his opponents, and also giving them a completely different look. The versatility in Carlos's game surprises a lot of his opponents. By coming to the net and looking to take charge and finishing points at the net, it helps him to preserve some energy, as well as not let his opponents dictate from the baseline so much. When Carlos takes charge of the net, he looks to take on balls that are a little bit high and floaty balls. When you can see your opponent stretching either with one hand on their backhand or opening the string face on their racket, you're looking to take charge when coming towards the net. This helps you to give yourself that best possible opportunity to finish with a volley at the net. When approaching the net, you want to make sure you follow the line of the ball. This is key so that you can minimize the court area surface that the opponent is trying to aim into, and Carlos did this especially well. The way Carlos moved to the net was giving Novak a lot of different point of views, and this was very, very smart from Carlos, as he was able to not only rush Novak Djokovic many times, but also not give Novak the same look. As Novak would usually see Carlos at the baseline, Carlos wanted to change it up a little bit by moving to the net, giving that little point of difference, which definitely added to Carlos winning a lot more points. You can also see the success rate of coming to the net. When you are moving forwards closer to the net, therefore you're able to see more angles of the court area. So when looking to take charge of the net, try not to rush yourself when moving forwards. Give yourself that time to split step, set your feet before taking on that first volley. One shot that's come into true fashion is the drop shot, and Carlos does this so well on the forehand and backhand side. He even played a drop shot in the 5th set, 5-4 up when serving for the match, and he missed the drop shot in the very first point. But not only that, he decided to then go for the drop shot as well later on in the game, which he did then succeed, and Novak was caught off guard, which is showing the true character of his mental toughness again. The drop shot, when disguised well, can be a great asset into your own game yourself. Because of the drop shot, you're able to give your opponent a different look. As you can see, tennis is 70% lateral movement. So if you're moving side to side, having that point of difference when having to actually run forward straight to the ball can be also a great little asset in your own game. I also find that when hitting the drop shots, the drop shot doesn't have to be the best possible shot, because if you push your opponent deep behind the baseline, you're able to give them the biggest surface area to run for when hitting that drop shot when landing in the service box. I highly recommend the ball bouncing at least 2 to 3 times in the service box for maximal effectiveness. I loved how Carlos would disguise his drop shots. He's got that massive forehand going at 100 miles an hour in comparison to the drop shot, going at like a 10-15 mile an hour speed. As you can see, with that big difference in speeds, it can throw a lot of opponents off guard. And by the way Carlos sets up, it looks like he's always going to hit that big drive, but then he changes at that last second to throw in the drop shot. This is a very effective way of catching people off guard. So that's my rundown of why Carlos Alcaraz is such a complete tennis player, and it's very exciting to see what he's going to do in years to come on tour. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe, like and comment, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.